Hello everyone and welcome again to Mission Alive. A few days ago I was out shopping and I was standing near a lift waiting for it to come and take me to the next floor when I heard this dreadful sound behind me. I really couldn't think what it was, and I didn't like to turn around to see what it was in case I embarrassed somebody. So I just heard it. It was a rasping noise. A dreadful noise. So I got into the lift and the noise followed me into the lift. So now I turned round and here was this young father with a newborn baby. It wasn't very old. It was merely weeks old, and here it was making this dreadful noise. So I turned round and I put my hand on the feet of the baby and I said, "Listen, little fellow, nobody likes to hear that noise. And your father is very sad that you are making all that noise and everybody is looking at him. Don't you think it's about time you stopped?" And the baby stopped. Oh, the father couldn't believe it, and neither could I. So at the next time when the lift stopped, we both got out and he turned around and said to me, "I'll see you again later." Of course, he never did. He went one way and I went the other. But I don't think he really worried because the noise had stopped. And it reminded me very much of my time in the Trobes when we had, what was it, Tom Wheeler, Imdelua, Loretto, William. We had at least 4 babies living with us at Trobes, at Gusaweta, all for real reasons that their mothers couldn't have them. Loretto's mother had died of breast cancer. William's mother was a TB carrier, and every time he went back to her, he contracted TB and came back to us. Tom Wheeler's mother had postnatal depression and had tried to cut his ear with a big bush knife. And Imdelua's mother had died when she was born, and the people were going to put her in the grave with her mother because there was nobody to look after her. But when they put her down, her uncle took off his shirt, wrapped it round her and walked into the village and asked us to take her just until she was old enough to be fed, to eat food properly, and then her auntie in the next village would take her. And so we had these 4 babies. And I was the one who usually took them when we were doing things. We used to have a reading, a spiritual reading. Sister Xavier would read to us from a book, and Sister Therese and I would do things as she did it, things that helped us in school. But with these 4 babies, I would take them one by one and hold them to me, rack them up and down, and put them to sleep. Sometimes I would walk up and down the veranda singing old songs to them. I loved the old songs, Sweet Rosie O'Grady, Little Nellie Kelly, Little Mr. Baggy Britches. Oh, I loved those old songs, Peg of My Heart. And as I sang them, the babies went to sleep. One time, Tom Wheeler was really bad. Nothing could stop him from crying. I could rock him, I could sing to him, nothing happened. So we said, let's get in the car. So Therese got the car. I hopped in beside her with Tom Wheeler on my lap, and off we went for a drive. Nowhere in particular, just to give Tom Wheeler a break and to see what he would do. No sooner had the engine started than Tom Wheeler's little head dropped and he was sound asleep. So we drove around the block for a couple of times to make sure it was true. Then we came back home, we got out, carried Tom Wheeler up and put him into his bed. But I remember those days. They were lovely days of singing, of rocking, and of playing with the children, getting down on the floor and playing with them. The schoolgirls, of course, were very good, especially if the baby came from their village, like Loretto came from Okaikoda, and so her friends and family were always in there sitting on the floor playing for her. Imdelua and Tom Wheeler too, and even William, his brothers and sisters would come, but he could not go. We had a very famous doctor, Dr. Juppner, a German, who had come to us and said, "Will you take this small baby and let him die in peace and with dignity?" So we had taken William and restored him to health. It was a rough journey. I had to give him every morning this dreadful TB medicine, and in those days it was just a powder, not a tablet or a capsule, but powder. So I would put the powder into jam or into honey, into anything that he liked, and try and give it to him. But every morning it was a very hard and difficult and sad work giving that medication to William. He had to have it if he was to live. Then, when he was strong enough, we'd send him back home to his mother. It was only 6 or 8 weeks later that William's people would come back to us, and he would be in the same state as before, just a little bag of bones. And again we would start the journey of bringing him back to health. And we did that until he was 7. He must have been about 4 when he first came to us, 3 or 4. And when he was 7, we went away at Christmas time to Sadir to make our retreat, to do our shopping and come home. And we came home to the sad news that William had died. So that was one. But the others, no. Oh, I am so proud of Loretto and what she has become and who she has become. A beautiful, beautiful mother of 4 with a very, very important job in education. Imdalua has married and gone away to Lay, and we've never seen her again. Tom Wheeler has married and lives in the village and has his own family and looks after them very well. I'm sure he doesn't remember his days at Gusueta or what happened. He knows he was there, but he can't remember any of the things that were happened. Every time I see a full moon, I look at it and I say, I see the moon and the moon sees me. God loves the moon, God loves me. Or sometimes we change it to, God bless the moon, God bless me. You might think of saying that when you see the full moon. I see the moon and the moon sees me. God bless the moon and God bless me. Or God loves the moon, that beautiful white shining ball, and God loves me. No matter I'm not a white shining ball, doesn't matter what I am, God loves me. God can never stop loving me. Like the father in the prodigal son, he couldn't stop loving that son who took half his money and went off and spent it, who came home a beggar. God loves me. God will never stop loving me. My sin doesn't make God angry. My sin makes God so sad, not because we hurt him, but because we hurt ourselves. And God doesn't like us hurting ourselves because he loves us. I see the moon and the moon sees me. God loves the moon. God loves me. Remember that now as we say goodbye for a while.